This image completely floored me. I had never heard about breathing in, that I was every day breathing in some of Caesar's last breath.
Everyone's.
and everyone else's. I'm happier about some than others, I have to say. And there's this sense, so we've got this image that we're all of us still are breathing the particles of Caesar's last breath. And it becomes, I think, increasingly important as the novel progresses from this point. There's a beautiful kind of, I think, connected topographical realization of this kind of idea too, right at the end of the novel, where the narrator imagines a kind of topographical umbilical cord connecting the Middle East, the Alps, Scotland, all of these places that are kind of key to the narrative. Mm-hmm. So we all breathe the same air, we all live on the same earth, we're all connected in this way, but also genuine connection is complicated. And the novel opens with two epigraphs, one from Virginia Woolf about the illusion of a common language, the difficulty of knowing and understanding ourselves, let alone anybody else. And one from John Berger about the role of imagination and stories and how they play to help us make sense of those events, which Berger says outstrip over our vocabulary. And that kind of juxtaposition, you know, when I got to the end and I remembered the beginning, I thought, is that connection of breath and earth a meaningful one? Can we have it both ways? Can we be connected in this way and also struggle to connect on a more kind of emotional or cerebral kind of way?
Yes. Yes, we can have it both ways. Yes, that's, I mean, that's kind of, I think perhaps the Virginia Woolf epigraph illustrates that, maybe in a better sense than the Berger one. The idea is that the narrator is having this experience, which the experience of the loss of a child, which his double bind is that he wants to manage this experience. He wants this to not completely rupture his life, his sense of self. And in that sense, he goes looking for perhaps models of people who have been through a similar experience. He is searching them out. So doing the Wolf thing of looking for someone who has had the same experience that I might have had. At the same time, he doesn't want that, because if the experience is not entirely unique to him, then it loses some of its preciousness, and he thinks this has implications for how much love he felt for his child. But so I think the Berger epigraph is about, like, how can I communicate this experience? Yeah, I can't. I don't have the words for this experience. Like, the language doesn't have the words for this experience. The whole body of the English language doesn't have it. So I have to tell a story in order to convey something that is lacking a word. Okay, what story do I tell? And so that's when he goes off and he searches for these other stories, all of these men who have something that they can give the language to convey something about his experience. So that is having it both ways, right? At the end of the day, there's nobody except the narrator. Like, it is his story, it is his voice, and all of the others are projections or constructions of him, or reconstructions, or they're not commensurate with the actual historical figures or even the actual contemporary figures, because he has such a partial view of them. They are him, but the parts that he's drawing from those stories in order to find the language that Berger is asking us to find are connections. They are those connections. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of splitting the difference in a way. I think I and the narrator would not entirely agree with either Woolf or Berger, and end up, yes, as you pointed out, in a different place, maybe somewhere that's kind of triangulating a little bit. Yeah.
that was my last question. So I don't know if there's questions, if Alice wanted to take. That was fabulous, Danielle, too, by the way.
Thank you. Those were great questions.
I've got more. Yeah.
We only have a few more minutes, but I just wanted to butt in with a couple of comments of my own, if you'll forgive me. Number one is, I'm going to paraphrase Kerryn Goldsworthy here, where she says that your book is unusual in that the story and the writing are of equal sophistication and are executed equally beautifully, and I agree with that. It is, as you've sort of hinted, and as the size of the book would suggest, quite long. But for a reader, it certainly, for me, it certainly didn't feel long, because there's this kind of compulsive quality to the prose, and certainly a rhythm, which one doesn't generally expect in novels these days, I think. And so the rhythm of the book is really powerful. And I hadn't thought of the books explicitly in terms of existentialism. I think I'm also at heart an existentialist, so that's another reason why I liked it. One thing I wanted to pick up on from the first question was about the folding of the stories on top of each other. And the original title for the book, which is good from a sort of artistic perspective, but not as good from a market perspective, it was Winter Fugue. And so there was this idea of the sort of fugal nature. And so with the poetry and the rhythms of the prose, and then the idea of a fugue, I mean, are you musical, Daniel, or is it
Oh
through
God,
the
no.
poetry angle?
No, and I was really grateful that Anna didn't ask me to read one of the sections that had song lyrics, because then there would have just been a mass exodus as I started singing.
Maybe
No, not musical at all.
500 pages. Yeah.
Yes, I think that's right. I think yes, it was originally called Winter Fugue. There are a couple of reasons for that, but one is that that was one of the form of the fugue. So in music, the form of the fugue is you have one voice at the start that states a theme. That's usually how it's put. One voice sings something, and then you have other voices that provide variations on this one thing, and they do intertwine, but they also kind of overlap at points. So there's sometimes singing at the same time and sometimes not singing at the same time. So that was a guiding metaphor for structuring the book. But I think ultimately it kind of comes away from that metaphor in the multi-layering and the thing that a musical fugue can't really do, which is that the book, when you'll have 3 or 4 layers of narrative that are then pointing backwards in time and actually taking you back to something that you've been through already, maybe from a different perspective, and then coming back. And I'm not sure, I would say that's probably not possible in music. The other thing, can I just say the other thing, that Winter Fugue was sort of a little bit of a jokey title, or an in-jokey title, or something more personal. There's a really lovely story called Spring Fugue by Harold Brodkey, which is about virtually nothing. It's an afternoon in the life of a couple. The wife goes to work and the husband is at home and he's preparing dinner and he cuts his thumb. He slices his thumb and he has to go to the hospital too. That's all it is. But it's the start of spring and he's in sort of this fugue state. Like, that's the idea. But that too provided something, like just wanting to write something like that provided something to this book, even though that's a short story, like 5 pages compared to this, because the way he does it is he says something like, when he cuts his thumb, he says, I was slicing a tomato, and I was slicing an Israeli tomato and thinking of Super Tuesday 2 years ago, and that's when I did it. And I just thought, yes, that's it. Like, that's the thing, is like, so often in narratives of marital discord or whatever, it's a very domestic narrative, right? And all that kind of acrimony is about what happens between the husband and wife within their four walls. But I don't think that's really how things work in life. I don't think the narrator does either. Like, my mood is so strongly conditioned by what I'm thinking about, which could be anything from history, from the news, from just my mind drifting. Like, that affects how I feel at any one moment, and then how I'm going to respond to anything that comes in front of me. And I just really like that randomness that Brodkey throws in a really quiet moment. So this book is, yeah, you'll see there's lots of drinking tea and just making toast, and people are really angry at each other because of what they've seen on the news or just overheard or something like that, and that has repercussions for their relationships, you know. And I think, I don't know, to me that's kind of how it works. So I like that Brodkey did it, and that was also part of the title thing.
Yeah,
Homage, an homage to Harold Brodkey.
And arguably more so now than it has been in the past, because of the way that our phones bring all kinds of news into our hands, into our heads throughout the day.
Yeah. And distinct and personalized. Like, you're not on the same page. Like, you're clearly not on the same page as the person sitting next to you anymore, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
And somehow some marriages survive, at least. Anna, thank you so much for beautiful hostings and hosting and excellent questions.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, everyone who's popped in there. It's great. It's great to see you both. Thank you.
The good news is that we've recorded this, and with everyone's permission, we'll put it up for more people to be able to have a look at. I'm really very thrilled with this book, and that it's getting into the hands of readers and reviewers who are seeing the same sorts of extraordinary things in it that first inspired me. So congratulations, Daniel, on this. I mean, I feel as though it's evident from reading the book that it has been a huge amount of thinking and ethical wrangling and care at the word level, at the sentence level, at the paragraph, at the page, at every single level. There's been a great deal of care, and I think the reader can see that. So congratulations. Thank you everyone for coming this evening, and makes an excellent Christmas present, I can tell you. Not for everybody,
Not for everybody.
But for the clever person in your in your network. I think they'll enjoy talking about it with you afterwards. Thank you all, and have a good evening / morning / day.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Anna. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye.
Ciao.